Well, hello. It is Sarah Jane, and I hope you're having a beautiful, restful Sunday wherever you are. Spring is definitely here in South Africa. The jasmine is just so heady and one of my favorite smells. Um, what I want to talk to you about today came up through a conversation that I was having with a client yesterday around second chances and also this somewhat confusing topic around how if we're fully conscious, infinite beings, why we choose our family, our blood families, our family of origin, and how do we actually show up in those relationships when we know we've chose them to heal us and to grow us and also to grow them in that soul contract. But what about giving yourself the power of choice also to choose your soul family? So many people I speak to tell me they just don't feel like they fit in their own families, and then they finally meet a group of like-minded people just like them, and it feels like a coming home of sorts. And that's really what I want to talk to, because let's face it, some of us are born into families we wouldn't simply want to choose cognitively or logically or rationally. And this is why it's counterintuitive, because we put ourselves through our best training ground inside of our own family dynamics, and sometimes we wouldn't choose the people because we experienced abuse or neglect or trauma or chaos around them, or because of, sometimes, and though it's far more subtle, we wouldn't choose them simply because we always felt like we didn't fit in with them. We felt like the proverbial ugly duckling amongst a group of swans, or the black sheep in a white herd, or the rebel horse that's always sort of leading from behind. But be it child abuse or the experience of being other, whatever the reason, many of us wouldn't necessarily choose the family of origins we were born into. And I know it gets a little frustrating, and sometimes it brings up a little bit of heartache, because we feel like we didn't get much choice when we were little as to, why we're in this family in the first place. And there is a painful powerlessness of childhood, that lack of self-agency around us, and also the dependency on the families that we're born into or adopted into. And I think that's one of the best gifts or second chance or the beauty of growing up, is that hopefully and in time we do have more agency. We have more sovereignty, because we're belonging to ourselves first and foremost. And then we get the choice of who we want to include in our lives. I always say, when I'm out and open to receiving more connection, if this person or this thing doesn't give me more than I currently have, why would I be choosing it? And more times than not, I often, when I go through the becauses, and the story that I'm telling myself that I teach my private clients to use, that there's always that little voice of the child, that wounded child part that's saying, but I just want to be liked, or I just want friends, and what do I have to be and do, and what do I have to cut off and disown as the most beautiful parts of my own true nature to do that. And this is where a lot of suffering comes up in relationships. And part of this may mean that as we grow, we develop more discernment, and we then open ourselves up to more opportunity to cultivate and nourish our own soul family, our family of choice. And that's what I want to speak about today. I want to share more with you about what I consider that homecoming, that coming home to the heart of family of your choice. And a hint here for all my highly sensitive and empathic clients that prefer the company of animals to people, it's not always people. Because we're looking for a space where we can be held and witnessed without judgment, without somebody trying to jump in and fix us. And oftentimes that beautiful sense of loyalty and loving you just as you are, we get from our animal companions, which is why this is so incredibly important. In what can get in the way of creating this, even if technically we have more choice. And I want to share with you some important things about this process, and provide you with a few little prompts today and queries that you can maybe spend some of your day, or the coming week, to just reflect on what cultivating and creating a right relationship, a soul family, a family that sees you and values your contribution to the dynamic of the family being even more expanded, and what that might feel like for you. I think sometimes those chosen people of flesh and blood, um, and the partners that we date, and who we marry, or the children we have ourselves, or the friends we hold tight around us, the mentors we seek, or all of it keeps us anchored. They're touchstones in our life. They're reference points, and they're not necessarily always for the right, highest good of you. And sometimes this is where we get that second chance, that opportunity for the first time as a adult child of perhaps an addicted parent, or when you're in that place of recovering from narcissistic relationships, where we may be pen and paper in nature, or only really known from afar. And I've written and spoken about this before, but I think it's important to just allow ourselves to imagine that major influences and influencers in our life can be people we only really know of or witness through writing or speaking or modeling. And we can greatly expand our opportunity to get into right relationship, the family of choice, if we allow ourselves to count those who resonate with us on a deep soul level, but who also may never be known to us in person, to sort of factor in or count as important and influential in how they shape our lives. I know I certainly had a teacher in high school that was my lifesaver in believing in myself and trusting that I could do this written maths exam that I was really struggling with. And I'll never forget her, just the faith and what she saw in me that I couldn't see for myself. And I certainly have in my own circle of influence, fellow psychotherapists and people that work in the body, mind, and life transformational industry, and authors and writers, and a lot of thought leaders who I count amongst my family of origin as my soul family, right? That second chance family, even though I haven't met and may never meet some of them. Importantly, I think second chances, or family of choice, that soul family, extends beyond people that we actually allow into our lives. I think of our soul family of choice as part and parcel of really belonging to ourselves, and how we're going to show up in the wisdom, in the mastery of our lives as we sort of grow wiser. And this means that we seek out and not only look for people who fit us better, but also places and ways of being that fit us better in our growth and our evolution. For example, if you sort of take a city or a town where your soul feels so at ease, for me, Hawaii was like that homecoming, where the mahalo, the love that just emanates from the Hawaiian people, just brought me to tears more than once, because I felt so safe. I felt so held there, even though people didn't really know me. And oftentimes it'll be a place where maybe your politics or your gender identity is welcomed, or where you feel safe enough to love how and whom you choose, where you have a chance to do work that really lights up your soul, where you can live out your days and weeks in ways that are nourishing and exciting and inspiring and really fill you up. You have abundant energy, and there's just so much more. So when we look at soul families, the families that we choose as the people that we want to keep around us, because they hold you to the fire when you can't for yourself, and they show you your blind spots, and they do model a very loving kind of tough love. And it is the way we choose to live our lives. It's ways that are more congruent with who we truly are and what our souls are desiring, what they're asking for and really wanting. And I think this is so important. You know, life is so short and so precious, and we all deserve to live it well. And if we didn't get a good, healthy, functional, sort of deeply supported start in life, I really believe it's never too late to do whatever works inside and out. It just takes a bit of effort and a bit of love to create a much better rest of your life for yourself, especially if you know how high your aces were and that all the bad programming and all the places you stuffed your emotions down and created coping mechanisms through your attachment style to keep you safe and protected. You don't need them anymore because you've grown yourself up and you are tapping into your intuitive knowing of what your body feels is a kindness, what feels loving to your body. Your body's your greatest consciousness facilitator. So ask your body, you know, is this person going to be loving? Are they going to be a contribution in my life? Will they make you happy? Will they bring you joy? And those are really generative questions that you can ask, because when you start to look for, and it's a selective process, that's going to be influenced by where you've been betrayed or hurt or had your heart broken in the past through relationships, and that the only way we heal is through relationships too. So think of your soul family, the family that you're now choosing, as giving you incredible opportunities to have relational experiences that you might otherwise have missed out on. So those sort of healthy developmental milestones on that your health is taken care of, that you're functioning, that you're nourished, that you're having good, secure attachment. Ideally, the birthright of every baby and child as they enter the planet, as we did. But unfortunately, that isn't often the case. Just remember that we deserve to have good experiences in relationships and to feel loved for who we really are, or all of who we are in our true nature. And cultivating your soul family is going to give you more of a chance to have that. Cultivating that from a place of power, of choice, it's a way of life that ensures that while we can't go back and erase the past, we can move forward and create a beautiful and healthy connection with our future for ourselves as we possibly can. And it breaks my heart. I find it really, really sad that so many of us didn't get a chance to be safe or deeply loved as a child, or have positive early childhood experiences from a place of secure attachment. And it would be a tragedy to not then get that in your adulthood, that feels better once the powerlessness of the childhood is past. And I think it's really important to remind you also that you get to be sad, you get to be angry, you get to be disappointed about your original family of origin, your blood relatives, and those painful experiences that you had with them, even as you create a life and family that feels better to you. And it kind of is a bit of a bittersweet ending, isn't it? Because often in the sadness, it's mixed with joy and gratitude and deep appreciation for those of us who do recover from early adversity in childhood, or have learned through surviving narcissistic relationships, or just getting free of codependency, you know, because you didn't know then what you know now. And you know, ideally, your blood family would have been supportive and nourishing and safe and deeply loving and fun, and unfailingly also your biggest cheerleaders, committed to really be the bedrock in our lives. And when they're not, even when we do ultimately find and develop relationships with those kind of people later on in life, you can still be sad. You might want to check out my other video I did on the myths of grieving. You do get to grieve, darling. that you didn't get that from your original family, and that's okay. That's actually, I think, really normal and natural. And you can be sad and also grateful and happy at the same time. It's not an either or, it can be both and. And you can have a beautiful present life and still have sadness or anger or any other emotion about your past. We all hold all of this together, and we move forward feeling the complexity inside of us, living as best as we can. We're all doing the best we can with what we have. So wrapping this up for your sort of sweet Sunday dose of body mind medicine, and a big energetic hug of love, I want to just leave you with a series of questions or prompts, and I'll write these down if I get a moment, so that you can just write them into your journal or copy them into your journal and start working with them, so that you can really do some of that sort of compassionate inquiry as you go in and reflect on, and for you, some kind of process in unwrapping and unbundling this, because we can't change what is invisible. So it's a really great way of getting the unconscious conscious for you. And I designed these questions and prompts always as a generative place, that there's no right or wrong. There's just what works for you and what's aligned with your soul calling, to really just help you think about what it means to be free to create your own choices, and what it means to invite in loving, kind relationships, and the ones that you've always wanted and maybe never knew how to find. So here we go. When you were growing up, did you feel like an outsider, or unwanted or mistreated by your family of origin, that you just maybe didn't fit, and maybe it was all the members or only with one or some of your family members? I've got 3 sisters, and the dynamic between all of us is very, very different. But this isn't to make them wrong, or to shame them, or to feel that if you start asking some of these questions and writing down some of your insights on these inquiries, it doesn't mean you don't love your family. It doesn't mean that you are disowning them. It just means that you're using all the beautiful lessons of their judgment, of the way that maybe they showed up and weren't kind to you, as a stepping stone to break through of codependency, and also resolve some of this unresolved trauma in the stories that you might still be telling yourself about your family. So explore some of the ways that you feel like you let them down and they let you down. What were those experiences? Because if you're still telling that story, it's still on some level running your life. Ask yourself as well, as a child, what kind of family and relationships did you really long for? Did you look at other friends of yours? I know I used to go, oh gosh, they have such a great family. When I used to go over for lunch or a sleepover, I wanted to have a family just like theirs, and maybe you can relate to that. Or what did you daydream about your family being? Was your dad your biggest cheerleader when you went off to your hockey match? Or did he always sort of look on from the sidelines and leave before you finished? Or was he really your best buddy and your best supporter? And in what ways are maybe the essence of your childhood dreams and longings playing out in your adult life now? Because that's what we want to get to. We want to get to the root cause of when you created those beliefs as a child, or what I call those original inciting incidents, those first shock and trauma systems where you maybe believe, gosh, I'm invisible in my family, or my family don't really care about me, or all they do is ridicule you and make you feel small and wrong. I know I got a lot of ridicule from my sisters for being too sensitive and too woo and just too out there, and I still do from time to time. And another thing you can ask is, if what your relationships look like now aren't what you want, what would you need to change for them to be exactly what you're asking for, that fill you up and make you really happy? and see where you're out of alignment with that. You can start to also ask for and seek out and cultivate some of the relationships that you would like, that doesn't make sense, would like in your life, and be creative. Think it's noticing and having appreciation for the fact that your husband is your daughter's best friend, or is it seeking out an older male mentor to help you in achieving your next leap or your next promotion in work? Is it maybe spending more time with an elderly neighbor woman on your block who you love and who's into spiritual astrology, or shares some of your joys with gardening or bird watching? Or is it watching all those old soppy reruns of a television show where there was a soothing, supportive nature to the family, and it makes you feel good and safe just watching that play out? I love that one with I can't remember what her name is now. Oh gosh, I think it was called Brothers and Sisters. They had their problems in their family, but they all kind of fed off each other and filled each other up. And I think we have to also look at what is good and what we can appreciate in our families, and what gifts they've brought you, even if they've been tough ones. And look at ways in which your soul is asking to be nourished by the life that you're currently living and the people in it. What ways do they sort of feel like maybe there's some incongruence, where there's a misalignment between what you truly deeply need and what's actually playing out in your relationships? And how can you move closer to living a life that's more of what you want and less of what you don't want? Do you allow yourself to feel pain and sorrow and anger that you might still feel from not having received what you wanted or needed from your blood family? Give yourself time to process those emotions and to release it from your body, so that they don't play into future relationships that are aligned, and then you go and your inner critic will sabotage it, because all those old stories and beliefs and programs are going to tell you every reason, justification why it's not safe to go out there and be vulnerable and meet new people that share common interests or common causes that you're aligned to and you want to make an impact in the world doing more of. So, look at what you didn't receive, even as you sort of hold that gratitude and that deep appreciation for all that you've created. And as always, I'd love to know if this resonated with you, if this is making sense to you. Thank you, Sue. Yeah, lots of garbage is coming up. Yep. And we're strong enough. You have the tools. We all have the tools. We have what we need and the support that we need to work through these relationship challenges in a more easy and a more loving way, not just to ourselves, but to the people that we're in relationship with. And if you want to kind of go deeper just on relationships, or how to create right relationships that work for you and that are a win-win for both parties, I created a beautiful short course that so many people have walked away with a lot of change from, just in the way that we modeled how to turn projections and assumptions into the story that I'm telling myself is this, so that the person that you're wanting to understand why you're hurt or upset doesn't feel like they need to protect or defend or put their barriers up, because it feels like you're attacking them. And it's 2 beautiful 90-minute live workshopping sessions with live callers asking the questions on, how do I make amends, and how do I deepen my intimacy with my partner, and how do I speak to my children in a more loving way that they actually thrive, because it's encouraging and I'm not telling them what to do. So this isn't about telling people what to do, it's about allowing people to have their own choice, and to stand there without judgment and support them and be there for them when they do ultimately need your help, or are asking for your help. So be sure to check it out. It's called the Shadow Dancing Classes, turning your blind spots into truth telling and your projections and assumptions into right relationship. And it's available in my store for only $97, I think. And I think you get the whole of the Illuminate Your Gifts series, which is another 5-part module. That's a really good stepping stone. It's a great foundation to have as you start to do more of your deeper work with your shadows and really wiggle and get all of that old trauma pattern released off of your body. So I'm so happy that you are here. Thank you for joining me, everyone. Thank you, Sue. I'm a mind reader. Yep, totally tuned into you, sending you so much love. All right, have a beautiful rest of the day wherever you are. And in case nobody told you today, I see you, I honor you, and I love you wherever you are on your journey. Keep going. You've got this.